Hi, Vineta. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Najma. Thank you for inviting.
It's great having you. I'm really actually interested in today's session because you'll be talking about brain health and how if you look after your brain health, you can have a better life, you said. And I'm really interested to find out more from you. But first, I just wondered if you could just tell me a little bit about how you got into all this.
Interest about people, interest about how we think, what we think, and why we are the way we are. I had it for many years since I was younger, but it was more about probably finding about myself. But then I was just kept looking for different information and going through information for myself, trying to find answers for my own life. And that's how I kind of realized I actually like it, and I was learning and I was doing different courses for myself and improving my own life. And I was introduced to this brain training by my friend, and that's how I started. I did the very first session. It was when I did the brain training, actual brain training. It was in 2014, so that was many years ago, and I still remember this brain training session with my friends because I saw a significant improvement just after one session, and I was amazed. And at that time I was living in Latvia, but then in 2017 I moved to UK, and I continued with my interest in health and bioresonance and those kind of non-invasive treatments for how to improve our health and how to improve our mental health. So that's how I got interested in this topic about the brain, and the more I was learning, the more interesting it became. And I just kept doing, and now I've been working myself with this brain neurofeedback for more than 3 years. And last year I also got a certificate in brain health coaching. And so that's a bit more than almost 4 years I've been working with people and helping with mental health and teaching about the brain and doing brain training sessions.
And what happens in your brain training session?
It's a non-invasive treatment which is using the device. So it's biofeedback. So it captures, because everything is like frequency, and it captures the frequency of our central nervous system, and it feeds back. So it's like if the frequency is a bit lower, so it feeds back through the software, through the system. And it's like training your brain. So it's like training our muscles. We lift the weights, and this brain training is just exactly the same. It's like our brain is lifting the mental muscle, but it's very effective.
Yeah. And what's biofeedback exactly? Could you tell the listeners?
Yeah, it's biofeedback has been around for more than 60 years now, and a lot of German scientists and Russian scientists have studied it, and it's all about the frequencies, because our body is like a frequency, and every organ has its own frequency, and when this frequency has dropped, so that's when the organ becomes ill. And this biofeedback, it's basically capturing measuring your frequency, and it's just helping to improve, feeding back. And that's why it's called neurofeedback, because it captures frequency and then it feeds back and trains your brain. That's it. It's non-invasive. There are different types. There's and dynamical and non-dynamical neurofeedback. In the one I'm working with, it's non-dynamical. So what does that mean? It means that nothing is being manually put, because there's neurofeedback where we scan, like it scans the brain, and you see which parts of the brain have been affected, and then you manually actually increase the frequencies and you work on those particular parts of the brain. But with neuro-optimal neurofeedback, your own central nervous system decides what it wants to work with. So like nothing is being programmed. It's like one device, but every person has different results depending on the circumstances that you have been through, and so that's why it doesn't have any side effects. It doesn't have it's very safe, and it can be used by children, which I'm working with quite a lot, and we can see big improvements in kids with autism and kids with ADHD, and I would say it's like one of the fastest and easiest therapies if somebody has like anxiety, depression, sleep problems. So like working with people also 3 years, I have seen like really amazing results.
Okay, and what kind of things happen? Like, for example, with children, say someone's got ADHD, what happens?
Like they become like very often like kids, they become like the attention improves, the attention span improves, and their focus improves, and they also become less hyperactive, because I think these days kids are really hyperactive because of all the sugars that they eat and things, but it helps to kind of calm down, but in a good way. And one of the also things that not just kids but adults as well, like you learn how to express your emotions. You don't suppress, and with kids as well, like even if like little kids, when they can talk, they will say, oh, I'm feeling sad, I feel angry, so they express, they don't suppress those emotions, but they learn how to express them, and they become much calmer. And from people who have been doing it for a longer time with their children, they also, like they said, that that kids very often kids can just slam the door and they go to their room and they don't want to talk. With when you're doing this brain training neurofeedback, it helps to express those emotions, and it helps not to kind of close yourself from family members, but be more open. And it's the same as adults as well. Like adults learn how to express the emotions and express your feelings, and until it's been dissolved. That's like I've been using it myself, and it has helped me a lot as well. And that's one of the things, because before I used to be a little bit more quiet, and I would hold everything inside, but now you just learn how to express yourself, how to not to hold things inside, but just have the conversations. So, and I think one of the good things that how it helps. And also, yeah, with children, they become like more aware of themselves, and with adults as well.
Okay, and you mentioned there that the kids are getting ADHD partly because of what they might be eating, loads of sugars and things. So from a diet perspective, what would you advise people to say children, for children's diet perspective? Any advice that you might want to give for brain health?
I also I work also with before kind of before I started working with neurofeedback, I was also working with holistic doctors, and one of the first things when they started to treat the ADHD patients, kids, it's like usually they take out sugar and take out gluten, take out dairy. So, and then just by reducing those things in their diet, you can see some changes, but yeah, like diet is very important. Diet is not just for children, but in general, food, things that we eat, they they can reduce or increase anxiety and depression. And there's also something that is becoming more popular in America, and I think it will come here as well, is nutritional psychiatry. And there's one psychiatrist. She is American, and her name is Uma Naido. She is yeah, she was a psychiatrist, and then she became more interested into nutrition, and now she's just like, yeah, she's teaching her patients about the importance of nutrition. And very often people, when like they come with mental health problems and issues, and when she starts asking about the food, so just like how like people don't understand how does it affect my mental health, and it's like directly affects the mental health. And the course that I did is Dr. Daniel Amen, and they have a clinic in America. He's like Christian, and he was one of the pioneers in this kind of studying the brain, and he has written books about change your brain, change your life. So and also and he was saying that one of the best results that they have is their nutritionists, how to like reduce anxiety, depression. So food is really important. And so like, yeah, the sugar, because it changes the sugar, it's like our blood. Very often people they do the low fat diet, so that also causes anxiety, and that can lead to the depression. So we need healthy fats, which is avocados, which is nuts. So I also need protein, because proteins are the ones that are building those neurons. And we also need like omega-3 oils, and for the brain, the best diet is Mediterranean diet, which is lots of vegetables, fruit, healthy oils like olive oil and fish. So that is from the brain point of view, that is the healthiest and best diet for the brain.
And of course, mental health is affected by food, because some mental illnesses are due to chemical imbalance. What can affect, like chemical changes and chemical imbalances? It is what you're putting inside you that's going to have an effect on, the chemical balance or imbalance, or just, balancing everything, like hormones, for example. That's going to be affected by food. It's like what goes inside you is going to affect every part of your body.
Yeah, like that's exactly it. Because like if you think as a brain, like lots of connections, lots of those neurons and connections. So if the connection like is not like, and what if like for those connections to be good, we need those minerals, we need oils, we need water. So all those things, they affect how this connection is it good or is it bad, and it affects how we think. And if we are feeding the, like if we are feeding they're saying the gut is our second brain, which is true. It works both ways. It works, what you put in your stomach affects your brain, and then you also like your brain affects like what you put in your stomach. So it's like so you have to change the diet, and you will see significant improvement in your mental health as well.
Yeah, because I've heard there is a food and mood connection. Your food affects your moods.
Yeah.
And I think people know already about, the things like chocolate does actually have an effect on your mood. It does actually raise your mood. And like chocolate has this, it's got a sort of in a way, a bad reputation. It's almost like people think, oh, chocolate is so good, but it's so bad for you. And actually real chocolate, what chocolate actually is, the cacao, is very good for you. It's just that what we see in the everyday shops is this cacao mixed with so much sugar and milk and other emulsifiers. That's what makes these confectionery chocolate bad for you.
Yeah, because it changes the blood sugar, and so it's like sugar causes the inflammation. So it's basically your body is constantly on fire. And but dark chocolate is very good for the brain, but not like a sugary. And it's actually like it's in the beginning, like when you start changing your diet, you start slowly. You start introducing or reducing some things, and your taste buds actually change, and then you don't crave for all the sugary foods and carbohydrates as much as. But it takes a discipline, and it takes change of the habits, but also what we think, like very, very often, like one of the things as well, like we keep telling ourselves, oh, I cannot give up the sugar, I need my sugar, so it's like what we think we become. And when you change the thought, actually, like you can, I like healthy food, I eat healthy, and slowly you will start noticing the changes as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for a brain, food is one of the things, that one of the healthy brain pillars, and then also water is very important, because when you are dehydrated, your brain actually shrinks in size, and it's like using more energy, more power to, like when you are processing thoughts, when you are working, when you are doing things. So water is also very important. And very often, like with the students, if they feel tired, if they feel overwhelmed, and then they can just also have a glass of wine water, but and that helps hydrate the brain, because our brain is 80% water, so it needs water as well to have a better clarity, have a better focus. And even 1% of dehydration, it affects our mental health. So it's like using more energy, and you can feel more tired. You can feel more exhausted, and your brain actually shrinks in size. And it also shrinks when we eat the wrong foods.
Yeah.
Like as then Dr. Daniel Amen said, the bigger the body, the smaller the brain, because fat stores toxins, and toxins are also affecting the brain. It's very, very good to read Dr. Daniel Amen books. He has really good books about, and he's a Christian, and he was a pioneer about, actually, who said it's important to scan the brain. It's important to see, because how can you treat the organ, like anxiety, depression, if you haven't seen the organ where it's actually coming from? And just by those scans, it's also quite interesting. In his books, you can also see like brains who like kind of been affected by toxins, brains who have been affected by alcohol and medication, drugs. So how it's actually the actual physical brain also changes, and all those things can be found in his books. So what, like food, exercise is like important, and also and train. It's important to train your brain to constantly learn new things. So that also contributes to a healthier brain, because when you learn new things, you are creating new connections, and so. Like learning a new language, learning a dance, learning like doing those crosswords, or constantly learning, reading the books, and learning something new. So that also affects our mental health, and how and the decline, and when you get older. it reduces the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you're exercising it, you're using it, and that's why it's like when you talk about muscles, you know, you're exercising muscles and they grow. And it's really similar with the brain. You use the brain. You know, when people say the phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it, you know,
Yeah.
and it seems like that. You know, you use the brain more when you're keeping it healthy and working properly.
Yeah, like, and even when this like when it is the studies and those brain scans, like, they also like show that people who are just, you know, sometimes people don't exercise, don't do much learning. They have jobs where they don't have to learn new things, so it's also affect the brain and affect like your brain, and a lot of the times it shrinks in size, and when it shrinks, it's like, yeah, it's not being used to the full capacity.
Yeah, so if you're in a job where you're not really progressing in that way and you're not really needing to sort of use your brain to learn new things all the time, it's good to have, say, a hobby where you maybe learn a language or even it doesn't have to be something academic like learning a language, does it? You said even learning to dance or learning a new dance.
And we went to one event. It was dancing for seniors, like just before the lockdown, and it was amazing to see people in their 80s to do those dance moves, and it was like really, really good to see them being so happy and being so like energetic and learning those moves, and we just think, wow, like they are in their 80s doing the different zumbas and yeah, be kind of sometimes, yeah.
Have you heard of Dr. Peter Lovett? He's a dance psychologist, and he's done work looking at dance and its effects with people with Parkinson's disease.
No, I didn't hear about him.
Yeah, that might be interesting for you to have a look at with Dr. Peter Lovett.
Yeah, thank you.
And what effects does exercise actually have on the brain?
If you want to improve your mood, the exercise will be one of the easiest and fastest way how to improve, because it improves the blood flow to oxygen flow to the brain, and it improves the circulation to the brain. So exercise is the fastest, and it doesn't have to be like crazy exercise, even just a fast walk and 40-minute fast walk, it will make a kind of difference in your mood. And it's basically because your oxygen flow is improving. So what is good for the heart is also good for the brain. And but with the exercise, like a lot of younger people, they play sports. They play like tennis is very good for the brain because it's not contact sport. So you actually do the coordination and you do the, like, it doesn't affect the brain, and you don't hurt the brain. But in football, in all those like cricket, where you can hurt your brain, it's also like for the brain, even small damages to the brain, they affect how we feel. So very often like when they scan in this in clinic in America, when they scan the brain, very often you can see that there's a damage, and you don't have to you don't have to have your scalp opened, or it doesn't have to be like a really serious brain damage, but even some smaller damages to the brain, so that can affect our mood as well. And so the blood flow is decreasing to those parts of the brain that have been affected, and it affects how we feel and how we think and how we react to situations. So that's when I started to learn about the brain. That was like, for me, it was like, wow. But it was something that never thought about. I never kind of knew about that when we hit our head. Like sometimes there's a saying that you hit your head if somebody is acting weird, and it's actually it's true, because even on the scans you can see that somebody had a brain damage, and so it does affect. And working with neurofeedback, I also had like several clients who, as a kid, they either fell really badly and they hit their head, or something else happened. So it's affects how you. And then, like, I think it's one of the things as well where God said, "Forgive them as they do not know what they are doing." So it's almost like, because very often we don't know, like if we had any some kind of damages that affected how we react or how we act in situations. But it does affect.
And I know that exercise has a good effect on the memory. There are some studies done showing that exercise really helps to improve memory function.
Because it improves the overall oxygen flow and blood flow to the brain. Because when we don't exercise, when we don't move, so the blood is not flowing as it should. So when you start exercising, heart starts pumping the blood. It delivers the nutrition, it delivers oxygen. So that's why exercise is one of the reasons why the exercise is so good for the brain.
Yeah, and it's also sorry, carry on.
Yeah, because it brings the nutrition, brings so you feel happy, and those happy endorphins, and so you feel happier much faster.
Yeah, and there was another study that I read where they looked at the effects of exercise compared to antidepressants. They concluded that in that particular study that, just exercising is just as good for people with depression and to just protect people from depression.
Yeah, because if, like, when we don't exercise, we can be tired, and when we are tired, we make bad decisions. We crave for sugary foods, and so when you exercise, you feel much happier, and so it's like everything affects everything. But yeah, and exercise. There's like many studies that have shown that exercise is good for our overall mental health.
Although I know some people think, hey, I've exercised, so I can have a treat. I can have that, sugary food. I know some people sort of have that kind of a view on things, which probably isn't the good idea. It's like if you've exercised, you've done something really healthy, and, keep it going. I'd say don't spoil it by having something sugary just because you've exercised.
Yeah, it's like you create this, as Dr. Daniel Amen says, you create this brain envy when you do those, like when you kind of like know about the brain, when you know about how it affects the brain, and so you you kind of become more aware of the things, and you just like do it. Like there's always like a question: does it hurt my brain or does it help my brain? So if it is hurting, if it's hurting my brain, then okay, I choose not to do it. But sometimes, sometimes we can have some sugary foods over, but they're not like be too hard. I know a lot of people say they feel really bad as those who stay really healthy, and then that's also not good when you feel judging yourself and feeling bad, and so
yeah, I mean, no, it's not. People should do what they know. They know what they want. They know. I mean, now and again, if someone just wants to have some sugary food, I'm not sort of saying never eat any sugary food. I'm not really telling people what to do.
Yeah, but it can be like replace with replace with some different, replace with healthier options. And I think when you start doing things right, when you start like exercise, start maybe change your habits, and you actually become more aware, and you don't want to do those things. But yes.
Yeah, it's like when you were talking about changing your taste buds, how your taste buds can change. I mean, I used to have quite I don't know if I had, what's called a sweet tooth. I used to like sweet foods a lot, and now I find that I don't want them as much as I used to. Whereas, there are savory foods that I enjoy more. And also, generally, just like our tastes can change as we sort of step by step introduce more healthier foods into our diet, and that does change our taste. It changes what we want to have. And it's the same thing with, like you were saying, about having wanting something sugary, or choosing a certain sort of eating behaviors or exercise behaviors or whatever. These things change because once you start introducing more healthier options in, it's actually a myth that healthy means boring, or healthy is not really nice. Like some people think that healthy foods are not tasty, they're boring, or they're just not tasty, and people are just having them because they're healthy. Well, as that is not true at all.
No, like you can make a healthy food, and it tastes. It's because it's again, people believe that healthy food is not tasty, and especially now these days there's so many nice recipes, and they're so they look nice, they taste nice. So it's I think it's like misconception about that healthy food is not doesn't taste good. And because there's so many really good recipes on YouTube, and different healthy options, and people have become more aware of their health and about all the sugary and gluten and the dairy, and yeah, like you mentioned about the hormones, like especially with women. What all those, like, because the dairy, it's not real milk anymore. Like years ago, it used to be a proper cow milk, but now these days there's lots of hormones that change our hormonal balance especially in women, and it's the same with like all the meat. If you are buying meats, and it would be good if it was organic and free range meat, because again, meat also changes hormonal balance, and that's why very often women are more depressed and anxious, because their hormonal balance has been changed. So just by changing your diet, you can balance your hormones and improve your mental health as well.
Yeah.
And also chemicals that we use, chemicals that like cleaning products, and if there is lots of all that is also changing our hormonal balance, and not just in cleaning but beauty products. All those parabens and toxins, they change this hormone balance, and it also causes to be more anxious and to be more depressed.
Yeah. And I think that there's another thing, that people think that people that are eating healthy, they're not enjoying themselves. People think that just eating, so really indulging in having loads of, I don't know, cakes and pies and things, or, a lot of sugary, sweet food, that's like, well, they're enjoying themselves. And those people who are not are somehow depriving themselves. But firstly, you're not depriving yourself if you go for healthier options. You can have some really delicious, decadent desserts that are sugar-free.
Yeah, like there's so many, like even like one of them like ice creams that I do during the summer. I just like freeze the banana and blend the banana with either like cacao or berries, so it'll be like a really nice ice cream. And it tastes nice, and it like tastes like ice cream. But it's the thing, yeah, just like when you, and even with the cakes, you can have a really, really nice cake, and you can just replace with either xylitol or stevia with the sugar, so it doesn't affect your blood sugar.
Yeah, stevia or a little bit of maple syrup, or I know people use dates in dessert and dates and cacao and make desserts with that, and it's actually quite delicious. And far from sort of, not enjoying yourself, people that maybe sometimes are indulging. I mean, I'm not sort of judging people here, so I'm not going to say people. I'm saying that, if some of these conditions that unfortunately we're seeing, they're not making people enjoy themselves. They're not helping people to enjoy themselves, really. If someone's having anxiety, low mood, so much, hormonal issues, other issues like that, then you're not really able to enjoy life as much as you could do. You're not really able to sort of flourish when you're having these health issues.
Yeah. And that's like one of the things is also like to kind of keep our thoughts captive, as Bible says, because it's like very important. What we can't believe every thought that comes into our brain, our mind, and in the therapy it's called ant killing. It's automatic negative thoughts. So they are like thoughts crawling into our heads, and we just have to capture them, because it may not be true. So with this aunt, Katie Byron, she came up. She had a really bad depression herself, and she came up with this sort of kind of therapy where it's kind of ant killing. So how it works is, when you have a thought, you just ask yourself, is this true? And then is it really true? How does this thought make me feel? Oh, it makes me feel anxious. It makes me feel angry. And then how would you feel if you didn't have this thought? And then you just describe, how would you feel if you didn't have this thought? I would feel like happier. I would feel more just change this negative thought into something positive. And that also, so when we become aware, I think if we recorded our thought, our thoughts, so it would be interesting to listen to our brain, like our thoughts, and then how, is it a good thought, is it a bad thought? And so it's just it's important to watch what we think. It's important to capture those thoughts early and replace them with good things, with promises like from the Bible, and what God said about us. A lot of people have identity issues these days because they keep comparing themselves with other people, with people from social media, and all those Instagram pictures, which some people have spent hours and hours to take one photo. So especially working with younger generation, with teenagers, with this neurofeedback, that's the issues that younger generation have, is they keep comparing themselves with other people younger, their friends, their those celebrities, and they don't feel that as they are good enough. And this one is, I was doing also the SOZO, it's saved, healed, delivered, before doing the brain training. It's about our lies that we believe. So that was with people. It's very, very effective. It's also about those lies we believe. We learned from our parents. We learned from our teachers as when we are growing up. So we learned those lies, and it's so they are just lies. You replace those lies with something good, something positive, something different. And just like, yeah, learning how to capture those thoughts and replace those with much better.
Yeah. And you've actually written a book, haven't you, to help children, to help motivate children and educate children?
Yeah, I've written a book, and how it all started is I had a dream where in the dream I saw like it was a glass, and in the glass there were those drops filling the glass, and when the glass was full it was splashing out, and in those in each of those drops there was a word written like kind of positive. And after the dream I was thinking a lot about this dream and what it meant, and then I kind of realized that it's whatever fills us is, when the glass is full, it splashes out. And so I understood how important are the words that we speak to ourselves or to like the children, or so if somebody is being like not kind, not really nasty, so it could be that they like, yeah, their parents were saying you're not good enough, so it just splashes out. And the book is the book is also about the importance, about like importance of the words, and because our brain grows and develops, and the beliefs are built up until 6, 7, 8 years of age. That's when, like, even in the sozo, when you ask when did I learn this lie, it's usually when I was 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's those early days is when we learn those lies. And yes, this book is about words, and also, yeah, I was in the shop one day, and mom was saying to her, like, daughter, like, you stupid, you're already 4. How could you not understand that? And I thought, like, she's only 4. How can she understand? So it's like, but then you can't say to this mom, because she's probably, that's how she's been told when she was growing up. So it's, and yeah, and then the book is like, it's encouraging about, I came up with a way how to encourage children to say those words, because affirmations are also important. The words that we speak, the words that we say to ourselves or other people say to us, parents say. So even with the book, when parents are reading, so there's lots of positive, encouraging words. So it's like, yeah, just encouraging. And I've, like, from the parents that read the book to their children, they say, oh, it's actually a book for it makes them think about those things and realize. And that was just something that I wanted to, like, a message that I wanted to bring to parents.
And your book is actually available just in Latvian, isn't it?
No, it's saying in English as well. It can be purchased on my website, brain training website.
Okay.
And it's available in Ireland, in website, and in Latvia. And it was it had very good reviews. It was number 8 when it was published. It was in Latvia. It is selling in all biggest bookstores, and it was in one of the biggest bookstores. It was number 8 most sold book, and the publisher said it's very rare when kids' books actually reach top 10.
That's great.
So yeah, so it's like a lot of, I've heard like good reviews from parents, and with small children, it's, yeah, small kids also love it.
Yeah.
And it's actually like, there's one story about in the book about where's it's about this little like squirrel and his mommy, where his mommy giving him this those nuts which are healthy or happy. And my sister actually made those like jars of nuts and labeled them as happy, strong, smart. And he's 5, and one day he was ill and they couldn't get the temperature down, and she remembered that they had those nut jars, and she said, like, here's a nut. And he took Xanat and he said, I'm healthy. And then 1 hour later, his temperature started to drop, because kids, when they are small, they actually believe what they're being told, or they believe what so if he plays with the box on, he thinks it's a car, so in his mind it actually is a car. And the same way with those nuts, when he says it, so he actually believes that he becomes stronger, he becomes healthier. And so it's like also like God's God's miracle, because I don't really like writing stuff. But I think it was a lie, because when I was in exam in school, I was very good with literature and writing, and then when I was at the exam, my brain just froze and I couldn't write anything. And I think since then I believe the lies that I can't write. but once you discover, then it just changes lies with truth.
So where can people get this book?
It's on the website, on my brain training website.
Okay, so
neuro/brain.co.uk.
Okay, and you said it's available in English and Latvian.
English and Latvian, yeah.
And do you have any social media places where people can connect with you?
Social media, I haven't been very active, but it's Vineta Kravale, my name and surname. So, but I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to talk to specialists, like people who are working with like talking therapies, or have clinics, or who would like to find out more about this brain training, because it's really effective. It's really, and the level of anxiety these days, it has grown significantly, and sleep problems and depression. And this brain training, it's very safe. It's safe for kids, safe for adults, safe for anybody, and it's very effective. So if somebody wants to introduce, they can contact me, and find me on like Facebook or message. And
are you just on Facebook, not on Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram is the same as the Facebook. So Vineta Kravale.
Sorry. Do you see clients face to face or online, both?
It was prior to lockdown, it was more face to face, but then when lockdown came, we started to rent the device, because it's so easy to use for home use. So if somebody somebody can't travel, because I'm based in London, and someone can't travel, so we just post the device sent by courier to their home address, and I train how to do it. I train how to use it, and we monitor, like there are forms that you can fill in, and monitor the progress, and so the whole family can use it and see the benefits. And so like now it's mainly we do like this device rental, and but it also can be introduced into the clinics, and there are several psychiatrists and holistic medical centers who have been using this device and have very good results.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Vineta, for coming on the show today and talking all about the brain.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Wellbeing in the Kingdom. If you've enjoyed, learned from, or been inspired or empowered by today's episode, then please help to support the show by leaving a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts.